It's time.
And here we are. We are live tonight. It's Monday. That means it's the Power Hour. And here's
Power
Nicole.
Hour. Hi
Yes.
there.
Nice to have you all on board. We're looking forward to seeing comments on who is here tonight so we can, get in touch with all of those people. And if you're joining us on the rebroadcast, welcome aboard. Our purpose here on the Power Hour is to kind of help everyone get started for the new week and just start with positivity, right? Because
That's right.
there's an awful lot of things going on in the world, and we'll talk about some of that tonight. But also we've got, we want to talk about positive, and that's what we're all about. Doesn't mean there isn't any negativity in the world. Of course there is, right? We're not Pollyannas. We don't have our head in the sands. We recognize that there are people that are maybe not thinking in the most positive way, right? And so we're here to shine that light and be the beacon of that divine energy that's in each and every one of us, and to make our life the example of how life can be. It's, what we talk about all the time is that we do not have the power to change everything that goes on in our life. The thing we have total ability to change is how we respond to it, right? So we want to practice, and it takes practice. It doesn't happen just, oh, I want to think positive today. And it all goes like that. It takes awareness. It takes paying attention to what your thoughts are. It takes tremendous amount of work in the beginning, right? I remember being at a dinner party one night, and a young lady told me she was she asked me what I like to eat, and that's why I'm vegetarian. So my choices are a little different than most people. When she says, "Well, let me get this right: you don't smoke, you don't drink, you're a vegetarian, and you have a spiritual belief," how is anyone supposed to follow that? Like it was some really awfully hard thing to do, right? And I said, well, you just do it. It's just like everything else, right? In the beginning, it feels strange and it feels difficult. It's kind of like the first time you get on a bike and you try to move along on the bike and you stumble and you fall and you crash and you skin your knees and you do all those kinds of things. And then pretty soon they take pretty soon they take the training wheels off. Then it gets for real.
Hopefully they show you how to use the brake, though.
Yes, indeed. So who is our Facebook user that says hi? I bet I know who it is, but I don't know because it's not on there. And we got to find out why that's happening for her, if it is who I think it is. But we'll find out, I'm sure, before long.
Kimberlyn, maybe.
Huh?
Kimberlyn, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. We'll see. I'm sure she'll comment, whoever it is. So anyway, that's what the whole journey is about, is changing the way we think. And last week, yes, we had it right. So Kimberlyn, have you seen that post that talks about how you click on so that StreamYard will allow you to make comments?
Well, I think for me, when I logged on, I didn't realize you had to do it every time.
I don't think you need to do it every time. Maybe
remember
you do.
When I logged on and it said Facebook user when I wasn't there?
Right.
It's because you have to do it each time, I think.
Okay, so if that's the case, when you get the notice about the meetings for the Power Hour, make sure you click on there to give StreamYard permission to show your post. Okay, all right. And I've done it before. Not sure if I have to keep doing it. That's exactly what we were talking about. So that's probably the case. All right. So we were talking about the habit of becoming positive. I'm a firm believer that we all come into this world positive. We're that little divine spark we talk about, right? And then life starts to happen. And we get disappointed because we didn't get that candy bar we saw in the main aisle. Yes, I've done it. Not sure. Yep.
Sorry. I touched it.
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't do that. All right. So you're going to click that off?
I don't know how.
Oh, I thought you.
There we go.
There we go. I see you do now.
Sorry, guys.
There you go. So anyway, we start out positive, and then we have experiences of life that tell us that maybe it's not so positive, right? And that builds up and builds up and builds up. It's not our fault. We didn't know. Most of our parents, I don't think, realized how important training your mind to think the correct way is. And we'll talk more about that later as well. I've got a whole thing I want to talk about with that. But I want to start with Nicole. And, she's been in this travel phase of her life where she's getting to get out and about and do some things. And I think that's awesome. And so there's a lot of positive in this story, and I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to share those positive messages.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we started, well, October was just full of like different places that we visited, Big Bear and Newark, New Jersey, and Maine. And I mean, it was just one thing after another. And then this past weekend, I was able to go to Las Vegas, where my daughter lives. And I picked up my son along the way. And then my eldest daughter came out because my grandson had a tournament out there. So it was all of us together in Las Vegas. So it was beautiful. My daughter and my son-in-law and his mom and my grandson and my granddaughter. And then my youngest daughter and her husband or boyfriend, and then my son. So, it's always such a great time when we're together. I mean, we laugh like nothing. And,
Yeah.
To where your cheeks hurt and you have, tears coming down your face, and my son's moving and making a great journey in his life. And, so it was just a fun way to spend the last weekend before he moves, and that was what he wanted, was some family time, and we were able to make that happen. So, I was able to get special time with each of them, and that's the thing that I love, and we were talking, actually, my son and I, about positive mind frames, and he'd gone through a hard time in his life, like we all do, and he was really down on himself, um, and then hopefully I'm not sharing something that's secretive, but I don't think so, because he says from the day that he put on the Whisper, his mindset changed.
Oh, how about that?
From that day, he felt a sense of peace.
Yep.
So before that, he was beating himself up. I'm such a piece of what, you know, um, that old record player, like I talk about,
Yep.
and everybody else was beating him up. I mean, my family really wasn't, because we know that, that doesn't help anything. He's going to beat himself up the worst.
Yep.
So why are we going to help with that? No, we're going to send love and positive thoughts, and you got this. And, and that's what our family does. Me and my children. Well, and you, of course, but his other side of the family, not so much.
Yes.
So, I was trying to not mention everybody in our life. But and we all went down to the ball field and supported my grandson, and he's such an amazing kid. And I mean, they played like 6 games, and
Wow.
he had such a positive outlook on it, and well, except for the last one that they lost. But but he was just a good kid, and so, I did get to talk to him about the practice of changing the mindset, like when you get
So
into
who?
that.
You're talking to who?
Jose.
Richard or Jose?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I changed
Okay.
back. But I was talking to Jose about, you have to practice. Like when you start seeing that negativity come up, oh, wait a minute, that's not where I want to be.
Right.
And I gave him tools of like, where am I at right this moment?
Yeah.
When I start getting into that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and what am I feeling in this moment? Okay, my hands are a little cold, my feet are a little cold, Other than that, there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Because
right.
we only have this moment. So,
Well, that is such a powerful statement, Nicole. And, I use it all the time about the only thing we have is this very moment. It's the only thing that's real, right? And so when we find ourselves in a state of anger or frustration or whatever, it's a prime indicator that we're not being in the moment, because in the moment everything's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Way to
Yeah.
go.
So I did it. I did that practice with him, and then I had him do it, just to, I always say, that's starting at center, right?
Yes.
Because for me, once I'm present, I'm centered, right? And then if I get off center, I can always go back to center.
Yep.
But if I start off center, where am I going back to? Right?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
So,
been working on that assessment thing we were talking about. And yeah, I just don't get a lot of hours to put into building things at this point, but it'll change. Everything changes.
yes.
And one of the things we talk about with the assessment is you can't get to where you want to go if you don't know where you're starting from, right?
Right.
Yeah. And one of the things we talk about with that assessment, with that starting thing, is your life is like a wheel, right? And you have all of these different sections. If you're to, in fact, I'm going to put a diagram of a pie out with that. And if you've got a couple of sections within that circle that are incomplete, you've got like a dent in that wheel. And what happens when you are moving in a circle, but you've got this dent that you're hitting every time, right? You're not going to get to where you want to go. So it means that we have to, in our life, have balance all the way around between our work life, our personal life, our family life, our business life, our spiritual life. All of those things have to be in balance, or else you get a rocky road, a rocky ride. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, and that's, such great coaching you're doing for Jose, because he'll forget, right? We all do.
Yeah.
But he's going to hear your voice in his head every time he's in a really rough spot. He's going to wait a minute, where am I? Mom reminded me, where am I? Right? And I use that with one of the young men I sponsor, right? Is that we always not sponsor but coach, right? And one of the things we always talk about is, where are you? Because he gets his mind running in 10,000 different directions, and he's just right, and he doesn't get to experience any peace that way. How could you? So every time he would call and he'd be just running like crazy, I'd say, where are you?
Yep.
And he'd just take a deep breath. And he goes, yep, I'm not in the present, am I? And it's okay, right? We all do it. We all have our moments, right? But we want to reduce it to little moments. We don't need to do this for days, right?
Nope.
Two of the things Jose told me over the years that I honor and cherish is, one, he told me that he always knew when he was going to be around Grandpa that it was going to be positive and laughter and happiness. And that's not what he was used to in his day-to-day living, as you understand, Nicole. And that always made me feel good, that was a place that he could be comfortable in and feel a different kind of world. And then the second thing was, he said, Grandpa, you had to have worked really hard to get to where you're at, right? I said, well, we all do. We don't get, it doesn't get handed to us, right? And for those people that are fortunate enough to get what I would call the awakening, is realizing that, as Christians call it, being reborn, right? Is you get to recognize that there's a power greater than yourself, and that you're not the center of the universe either.
Wait, what?
What? Huh? Yeah, right. So what else was going on with that trip? Anything else?
Oh my goodness, so much greatness, like just love and laughter. And we got to have the baby for a little bit, which was nice. We hadn't had private time. And I was able to have while we were talking with Jose, Kimberlyn and I, we got a lot of moments that yeah, I love that. I know, I didn't want to hear that either, Kim.
Well, it's not all about me.
You can't unhear that either. But we got to talk, and she also mentioned, some mindful meditation, and
Who's
and
that?
that was nice to hear, Kimmy. Oh, that was
Ah,
Jose.
ah. What was
So
Jose?
so Kimberlyn logged in correctly. So the other one was Jose.
Oh, so Jose's on the phone, on the call.
Yes.
Yay, Jose! We were talking
Yay.
about you.
Yeah, so we just were able to, and I could hear a lot of, some really good stuff coming from her of like the practice of it.
Yes,
At
yes,
first we might be able to do 5 minutes.
right.
Next time we might be able to do 10 minutes,
Yep, yep,
But she said it really just brings it back to, being present.
yes.
Like 98% of the things that we worry about never happen. But
Exactly
we've
right.
wasted so much time worrying about this, worrying about that, and all of the useless energy that we spend on that, and it never even comes about.
Thank God.
Yeah. Well, yes, for sure.
Imagine
But
the hell we'd be in if all of our thoughts became reality, right? Oh my
one guy
goodness.
always says you wouldn't care so much what people thought of you if you actually knew how much they think of you.
How seldom they think of you.
Or how, yeah, how less, but yeah, seldom. Oh, he's already at the airport. All right.
Oh, he is.
Oh, wait.
Ah,
I'm sorry, had to charge my phone for the flight. There we go.
I'm delayed an hour, so the flight's late, huh?
Yeah, that
Well, it's
happens.
our good fortune.
Yeah. I said, oh, good. You can come on the power hour.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yes.
agree. I wish I could send him an invite. We'd bring him on the call.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it while we're on the call, so I won't do it now. But
It's okay.
Jose, when you get to where you're going, let me know, and we'll get you on our power hour one day, and help you, get you to share with everybody the journey you're on, and about the importance of positive thinking, and even more important than positive thinking would be what?
Wearing your whispers.
That too, but where I was going with that was positive action.
Oh, for sure.
Right? We can think all day long, but if we don't do anything with it, it isn't good. It's
I
kind of
always
like
call it like the ripple effect, like, skipping a rock in the water, it has
exactly
a
right.
ripple effect. So there we go. That's
So
what it happened. That's
Kimberlyn was
right.
telling Jose to practice staying connected to the universe and keeping his positive aura. Negative energy will strip your positive energy. Absolutely. Boy, guys are getting it, aren't they? Huh? How awesome.
See, this is what we were talking about. That's the best. This
I would
was
love
a
to
part
be
of
on
our
the show to
weekend.
share my experience with this amazing whisper. Oh, your mom was sharing that you noticed that as soon as you put it on, that peacefulness came about you. Now, it doesn't stay, obviously, because life is life, and we've got all this energy in us that we've had since the beginning of our time here on Earth, right? But what they do is they just keep releasing and keep releasing and keep releasing. And I can promise you that a year from now, the way you feel, you won't even remember how you felt last year,
Mhm.
because your whole system has changed now, right? So what feels like stress to you now would have felt like calm times before. You'd just be so much more peaceful, right? And then the times that you aren't as peaceful, they get shorter and less intense. And so it just becomes a speck of time rather than this, month of suffering, right? Uh,
Well, what he said was, oh, it's an everyday reminder to myself to be kind to myself.
yes, exactly right.
I love
That
that.
Jose, I tell often on our show here about the friend of mine who used to absolutely hate it when I would say the beatings will continue until your attitude improves, right? She would just, oh, she would be beside herself with anger and frustration. I just hate that saying, right? And now she has it on her coffee table. Because, when we're so used to being so cruel to ourselves, Now, I know nobody on this call has been that way. Not a one of you, right? None of you have ever been hard on yourself. And that's great. And I'm glad. But for those of us that was hard on ourselves, it's absolutely, when you get on the other side of it, it's like, oh my God, what was I doing? Right? What did I think I was going to accomplish by beating up on myself so much? Now, it's important when we do something wrong or something that isn't in the light that we want to be in, that we recognize it and talk to ourselves about it and say, hey, I didn't like that I did that, and I don't want that anymore, right? That's not who I want to be. And we all have that happen throughout our days, right? So, rather than, it's kind of like the person that goes on a diet and does really well for a month, and then they have a piece of cake and it says, shoot, I screwed up my diet. That's it. No sense trying anymore. And they go for a pound ice, for a gallon of ice cream. And then a month later, the diet's already gone and they've gained back all the weight they lost in that month. And they consider themselves an even greater pile of dung on the side of the road because they failed once again. And that's because they haven't built the muscles that we're working on, right?
Ooh,
And that's why we do this call every week. And a lot of it will seem repetitious, right? But that's okay because we need those reminders. We need to be reminded that it's just, it's a practice. And shoot, let's see, what have we got here? Facebook user, I think that's Jose. Shoot, that's me as well. Lost so much just to regain it. Yep. Well, and that's okay, right? And it's just like it's just like a baby, right? Little Aurora, before we know it, she's going to be taking those steps. And as us parents all know, we get to watch our children struggle to learn to keep the balance and to stand upright, and they'll fall, and you don't hear them beat themselves up for it, right? They just get up and try again, right? And that's what we all have to do. But we forget, because we become so critical of ourselves that every time we don't measure up to what we think, what we've set as our standard, then we've failed. But all that we've done is we've worked a step closer to that goal that we want, right? And of course, you're not going to get it the very first time. Most of the time, it doesn't work like that. So that's why it's so important not to beat yourself up when you're trying to work towards something new. Of course, you're going to strike out. Like, we talk about baseball in this show a lot, right? About how, a 300 hitters making tens of millions of dollars. That's only 30% of the time is he successful. 70% of the time he's failing. Yeah. And perhaps the hardest thing that a baseball player has to do is to develop that short-term memory to where they can forget what happened last night and start all over again today, fresh, right? And it's the players that go into really long, drawn-out slumps that really have the hardest time because they get to where they start beating themselves up. God, I missed that. And then they create that agony for themselves, and they need something to snap them out of it. We should get whispers on every single baseball player, right? So anyway, you're welcome. Thanks, Papa. You are ever so welcome. I as you reminded me, Jose, I had to work hard to get to this point, and success. I always love the fact that everybody strives for success, and when they don't accomplish it, they get upset, but they haven't taken the time to define what success really means for them, right? Yeah. So I have my own set of standards of what I believe success is, and I haven't reached all of them yet either, nor has anybody else. And but my success may be different than your success, and that's okay, right? My success is being as good a father as I can be, to be as good a grandfather as I can be, as good a great grandfather as I can be, and a great husband as best as I can be, and a great employee as best as I can be. But I don't beat myself up when I come up short, because I'm always going to come up short.
Yeah.
because, we all want to strive for perfection, right? And it's always better to aim high and miss than to aim low and hit.
Yeah.
so that's all about that for right now. And Jose, we're going to miss you like crazy. But I hope that we'll stay in better contact through, our texting and Facebooks, and you can come on to our call every Monday night, and whether you're on the show as one of the stars or whether you're on the call as one of the chatters, we will love having you with us, and you're with us in our thoughts and in our spirit all the time, as you know. So I wish you all the success in the world, young man. You've learned an awful lot in a short period of time here, and I know you're going to look back on all of these things that you've gone through, the good and the bad, and get the good from it, right? Because bad's only bad if we don't learn from it. That's a real mistake, right? If you have a negative experience and you don't gain anything from it, then it's a difficult situation, right? So, I hope you'll remember the things that your family has been working with you on, and you'll continue in that direction, and realize that you have within you everything that you need to create the kind of life you want to create. Be patient and diligent, take right action, and be positive. And
That's
here
right.
we go. Let me get it back up here. Thank you, Papa. My family has been my greatest blessing, and I love you guys dearly. That's wonderful. It really is. And, not every family has that, right? So, that's right. A lot of love to you. And,
I gotta get a drink. I'm sorry.
that's all right. It's what life is all about, is family, really, right? But not every family gets to be close and gets to have the kind of experiences that this family has had, and I know we're all grateful for that. So while this seems like the family power hour, and it kind of is, we know that many people watch on the recordings, and I hope that you get something from this that helps your day and your week and your life move in the direction you want it to go in. All right. So that brings me to the next topic I want to talk about tonight, and that is that we just had a midterm election.
Yep.
And I want to congratulate every single person out there that decided, I listened to a lot of the pundits, and they all have their different views and everything. But the two most prevalent comments I've heard is that, number one, the most important issue on the ballot this election was women's rights and our Constitution. And young people voted in numbers never seen before this election, which I'm yay to all of the young kids out there that, this is your democracy. This is your world you're taking over. Us from the 60s generation didn't leave you a very nice situation, right? And and so many times I've heard kids say, "Oh, I don't want to vote. There's no sense in it," right? And then after a few elections ago, they all suddenly realized that it was really important that they vote, because what you get is what you get, and if you don't vote, then you have no right to complain about anything. But you young people, and you ladies in particular, decided that nobody should make a decision over how you operate your body other than you, and to try to legislate how a woman is supposed to deal with a very touching situation, to me, is just barbaric, and really kind of taking us back to the 50s. And the way this election went, to me, said enough that women decided, no, you guys aren't doing that. No, we're not going back to the Stone Age, right? And, personally, I just want to say that I know that for women, it's the hardest decision they could ever make, the decision to end a pregnancy. And it carries with them the rest of their life when they make a decision like that. And I doubt that there's very many women who make that decision lightly. I think with all my heart that every woman that goes through that is going through torture to make that decision, and they don't get to walk away from it even after they've done it. So how in the world do I have the right to tell you how to handle your body and how to live your life? It just makes no sense to me. Now, I know that there are some restrictions that could be put in place because we certainly don't want that kind of thing to be done as birth control, right? But also education would help, and training would help, and you know. But again, it's the woman that has to make that decision. For us men, they ain't no big deal. We can just throw our seeds and walk away, right? Who cares? But for the young lady, it affects their entire life. So I just, I have a great deal of respect for women, and the difficulty that being a woman has, but also the joys that you get to have that us men would never realize, right? So I'm glad that you all voted and spoke your mind and said, no, we're not having this, right? And I hope that every politician pays attention to the will of the people instead of what's good for the party. I think that's part of what most of us are fed up with, is that there's not enough getting done to make our world a better place. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Jew, a Catholic, a Sikh, whatever your color is, whatever your nationality is, whatever your religion is, it doesn't make a difference. God gave all of this to all of us. He didn't give it just to the 1%. He gave it to everybody. And as a human being, I think we have a responsibility to make sure that every human being gets what they need to live a reasonably good life. Yeah. Nobody should have to live in the street. Nobody should have to go hungry. Nobody should have to have their health compromised because they don't have health care. That's just wrong. And I'll get off that soapbox. But I really am passionate about, I saw a post that said, well, if liberals are all about making sure everybody has health care and everybody has food on the table and everybody can live a decent life with, a shelter and all of those kinds of things, if that's what being a liberal is about, call me a liberal. I don't care, right? I just want to make sure that everybody that is on God's earth gets to live a nice life. It's like I always say about wars, is there's no parent that wants to be in a war. Every parent wants for their children to have a better life than they had. So it's not the men that are fighting. It's the politicians and the quest for power, right? So, and yet, no matter how many wars they start and how many men and women they kill with their wars, has it fixed anything? I don't know. So that's for everyone to decide on their own. But anyway, enough of the politics. But again, congratulations to you young people. Congratulations to you ladies, and to the men who made good decisions for themselves. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever you are, you have a right to your thoughts and your feelings. And everyone needs to be treated with respect. So I do my best to respect everybody. All right. Positive Power Hour.
Positive Power Hour.
Yes. And I'm wondering who has anyone joined us that we haven't gotten on here yet? Doesn't look like it yet. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Got anything else, Nicole?
No. Can't think of anything right now.
All right. Well, there was something else that I was talking about this week, and that is where we started.
Oh, yes.
I was thinking about how when we're born into a family, right? And there are families that for generation after generation after generation, all of the children went to college. And it was a very important part of raising the family, was that you get your kids in college and you give them the education, which unlocks doors that get you where you want to go. And that's gone on for generation after generation in some families, right? And within, families, you get some rebels that say, no, I'm not going to do it that way. And I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to do this and that and the other. And that's okay too. But it's kind of like instilled in them. It's kind of like the natural order of things is that you go to elementary school, junior high, high school, and then college, right? And then there are families like mine and probably most of us here on the call and that didn't get that. We got, you do your best to get through high school and go to work because you got to make some money, right? And that's what happened. And that's kind of what they talk about when we talk about racial injustice and people that have been disempowered. Because if you go generation after generation after generation living in poverty or in a low income environment, it's really difficult to pull yourself out from that because you've almost inherited living in a less than life. And the ones that manage to break out of it and get a college education, get a high paying job and that kind of thing, usually have one or two parents that are just riding them like crazy to do everything they can to get them into college and get them through that. Well, nowadays it's even harder because mom and dad are both working, right? So they're working all day long. I would guarantee you, most parents don't have a whole lot of energy when they get home to sit down and talk about the facts of life and how important it is for them to get a higher degree education. So it's harder and harder to create that kind of environment. And that's why, my dear old dad, God rest his soul, used to always say, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. There's a lot of truth to that, right? Now, again, it shows the importance of positivity, because if you let that difficult situation that you were born in and grow through and all of that determine who you're going to be, then that's really hard. So all the more reason for positive thinking, right? All the more reason for realizing that, okay, no matter what circumstances we were born in, no matter what life has dealt us to this point, I have the ability within me to make my life a positive experience. Now, does that mean you're going to own a big, huge corporation? I don't know. If that's what's really important to you, you probably could make that happen, right? Does it mean that maybe you're going to work, 9 to 5 for the rest of your life and have enough barely to get by or whatever? Maybe that is it. I don't know. But it's different for everybody. But here's what I'm absolutely certain of is that the kind of attitude you have will go a long way to create exactly what it is you do want to have. And just like the assessment that I'm working on that we'll get onto the website here soon, one of these days, I know, is that you can't get to where you want to go if you don't know where you're at. So that's where taking inventory of yourself becomes so important. And most of us never did that. Right. And they talk about businesses that fail are ones that don't keep track of their inventory, because if you don't know what you got, you don't know what you're going to be able to sell and what you need to get made for next month. Right. Well, it's the same thing with the personal inventory. If you aren't aware or clear about what your assets are and your liabilities, you're not going to be able to get to where you want to go, because if you're focused only on your assets and you're not looking at your liabilities, one of these days the check's going to come due, right? And if you're only looking at your liabilities and don't look at your assets, you're going to quit, because it's like, what's the use? I can't get anywhere, right? So it's important to look at both sides. And most people, when they start getting into self-healing, self-growth, if you will, they'll look at all of their liabilities, all the mistakes they've made, and all of this stuff. And in a way, that's good, but also in a way, it's not so good, because it's like the old saying, if you find yourself in a hole, quit digging. So it's important that we pay attention to both sides. And through my, god awfully long life at this point, I've gotten to see an awful lot of people who could write me 10 pages of all the things they don't like about themselves. But they'd be lucky if they could write 4 or 5 things they do like about themselves. So again, the ledger sheet's off, isn't it? So to have a fulfilled life, to have a life that really feels in balance, we really need to be aware of both, because then we can start to make changes easier and through clearer eyes, right? And we can determine what really is important to us, right? Like for me, the love of my God and of my wife and of my children, those are my 3 most important things, right? And to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, I can't help anybody else, can I?
Right.
Yeah. And like who was it that was saying about, where was that at earlier? Was that you? Now I'm even forgetting what it was I was going to look for, but had something to do with learning to like yourself. I think that was Jose, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a reminder to myself to be kind to myself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's an everyday reminder to be kind to myself. It's critically important because when you have that mat on going on for yourself, believe it or not, you're also having a mat on for everybody else. Because first of all, our life is just a mirror of how we feel inside. So if we're being judgmental, if we're being critical, if we're being harsh to ourselves, we're also going to do the same thing out there. And we're going to attract critical people. We're going to attract people that are in bad moods. We're going to attract people that abuse other people because you're abusing yourself, right? And, everybody else is saying, well, why shouldn't I join in the party? Why should you have all the fun, right? So, and again, it goes back to that practice. And, it's such an important thing. It's like, we just talked about the diet thing, right? Where if you're taking good action and you're following a diet that makes sense for you, and, and all of a sudden that craving for sugar comes up and you succumb and you have a night of eating sugar all night. Okay. Tomorrow morning, wake up and don't eat sugar, right? And say, okay, fresh start. Get a fresh start every day, right? And so reset is such an important part of our journey. And poor Nicole, she drove from Las Vegas, this morning?
Yeah, I left at 5 a.m.
5 a.m. and got here when?
9:30.
9:30. Oh, that's not too bad. But knowing you kids and you all stayed up late the night before, right?
Not too bad. Last night we were pretty wiped out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
But
well, I'm glad that you got
night.
to.
Every other night we did.
Every other night. All right. Well, I'm glad you got to see Jose before he leaves tonight, right? And we love you, Jose, and we send all the best love and wishes to you, and have a safe journey. And don't forget us here on the West Coast, okay?
The best coast.
Yes, the best coast, absolutely. But as I was telling your mom, the Michigan's a beautiful place. There's a lot of beauty out there, a lot of things to do. And I'm sure that it's going to be a good experience for you. And as I mentioned to her, the best time to do things like this is when you're young, because you got the energy and the resilience. And even if you make a mistake and it was the wrong choice, that's okay. You just get to start again, right? And you're young enough to rebound so have all the experiences now. Yes, Cheryl, you're absolutely right. We absolutely love Jose, as we love everybody, right? Yes. And we love you, Cheryl, as well. Yes. You are awesome. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving coming up. We will be on our call next week. I think Thanksgiving is when? Is that
the week after?
Week after. What day though?
Thursday.
Thursday? It's always Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be on call next week. But if you're going to be gone for a family holiday time, let us know. You have to let us know. What am I saying? But we will be here. Yeah, we will be here next Monday, and when the Monday after that, and the Monday after that. And I want to wish everybody a great week. Stay positive. And if you see somebody that doesn't have a smile, what should they do, Nicole?
Give them yours.
There you go. Give them one of yours. They're free and
Yeah.
they help a lot, right? So the world needs more smiles. So until next week, everybody, have a great time and stay positive. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And